Welcome everybody. This is Social Dreaming Talks. This is episode number 6. And today it's me, Fabio Brunazzi, and Kalina Stamenova. We will have a conversation with Angela Eden, which is here, and she was very kind to participate and to bring her experience and her knowledge of social dreaming to our conversation. A little bit of information about this series. We've started last February, and our aim is to talk with people that practice social dreaming in different forms and from different backgrounds to learn more about it mostly, and to see if this community of social dreaming is evolving, is changing, what's happening. And so that's why Kalina and I started this conversation. And today we're gonna go a little bit into the classic of social dreaming, and Angela has great experience with it. And I'm gonna pass the turn to Kalina to introduce her. But before that, I wanna remember everybody that we in the chat is possible to leave comments and to ask questions directly to Angela or to ourselves, and we will try to make this more an interactive conversation with the public as well. And so feel free to write in the chat. And now I pass the turn to Kalina to introduce our guest.
I'm really delighted to introduce Angela. I've known her for some time. I want to say hello to our viewers as well, and I suspect that she's well known to perhaps quite a few of the viewers. But anyway, I'm really delighted. Angela started her career, in fact, in theater education. And then she moved into community development and finally works as an organizational consultant. She's trained in social policy, organizational consulting, and as a mediator at the School of Psychotherapy and Counseling. At the Tavistock Centre, London, she was a visiting practice supervisor on group dynamics and the professional consultancy doctorate program. She researches and writes about organizations, power, and exclusion. Her personal and internal world is formed by dream, poetry, and painting. And I know she has some very beautiful paintings. Anyway, all this comes together in social dreaming, and for over 25 years, she has participated and hosted social dreaming matrices. She has worked closely with Gordon Lawrence, and she was the director of the training on the previous board of Social Dreaming Limited, and developed training programs to understand the principles and practice of hosting social dreaming matrices. And this work is published in The Creativity of Social Dreaming, edited by Gordon Lawrence and published by Karnak in 2010. I believe Angela's understanding is that basically you can modify and change things and adapt them, but a practitioner, ones who host social dreaming matrices, need to have a clear and firm understanding of the foundations, of the basic principles, and the origins. So we are really delighted that she's joining us and willing to talk a little bit more about that. But my first question for Angela is to tell us a story and tell us how did she first got interested in and engaged with social dreaming. You've worked very closely with Gordon Lawrence as well.
Yes, and just to say hello to everybody, it's always so interesting when you're introduced somewhere. It doesn't sound like me. It sounds like somebody else, and I keep going, "Oh, did I do all those things? Oh, wow!" But yes, I think I did. So thank you very much, Kalina. Let me think. When I started, I was in a group relations conference in Oxford, I think, in maybe 1980, something like that. And there was a social dreaming matrix. And I remember being so interested to hear other dreams and see how my dreams related to other people's dreams. And then it began to be that at many conferences, mostly ISPSO, I think maybe the last 10 years, maybe more. Didn't look it up, but every morning was a matrix that influenced and leaked into the working of the day and the papers and the community. So how I think Gordon asked me to host with him once, and maybe again another time. But anyway, I kept working with Gordon, and they set up Social Dreaming Limited, and I became part of that. They called it a board, but it was just a group of us that were trying to progress it. And then Gordon thought it would be very good if people had training in how to be a host, because he said people don't understand the basics. They're doing it without understanding the basics. So we designed, I think with Franca Fubini, who many of you know, a week, 3 or 4 weeks, I think, in different ways of doing it and hosting it and understanding about the host role. And then I got asked to do it in other places, the Institute of Jungian Analysis and various places, and a little bit internationally. And Franca set up a long and detailed and thorough training in Italy over 4 modules over a year, which I was part of. And I've been helping people in Belgrade to understand the role of host. But I've worked with a lot of people and a lot of different hosting settings. So I feel comfortable now in the role, even though it's quite hard sometimes. I feel comfortable. Somehow it seems to bring everything you've learned from your whole, well, for me, from my whole life. So how to speak in a group, how to take up a role, how to be creative, how to think laterally, how to let go, how to be present, boundaries. You know, it seems to link everything together that I've ever learned. So, and also some deep, deep, deep emotional work. Sometimes in a matrix, if it's in a complicated place, with a lot of history, the dreams that come up can be very tough and hard to work with and hard to listen to.
Can you give an example of what you mean by complicated place?
I can. But I want to protect anonymity. So I use an example. About many years ago, I was in a matrix with that had been meeting quite regularly, and we kept dreaming about animals, but wild animals, and animals that were running, and animals that were caught in flames, and animals that were panicked and angry, and we didn't understand what all of this was. They were terrible dreams, really strong dreams. And about a little while after that, came a terrible disease in England where all the animals had to be burnt. All the animals in the farms had to be burnt. And there were pictures you may have seen of pyres of dying cows on fires. And the dreams had been coming to the matrix for a while, and we didn't know where they were coming from. Another example, we kept dreaming, or the dreams kept coming, of people in long columns migrating, suitcases underneath in tunnels, so many dreams about people moving. And again, it felt very not like our dreams. And then we started to see pictures in the paper of people moving between the different countries that were separating from former Yugoslavia. You know, columns and columns of people. So that the dreams came, and then we realized they were in relation to that. So that, you know, those were very strong examples of being in a matrix and then seeing how it related to the social context. Yeah. So that's a story. What else would you like to ask?
Well, the basic principles and foundations, what do you think people need to understand very well? You mentioned it at the beginning, so that they know they are doing social dreaming and not something else.
Okay, well, that's very interesting already in the words, and I don't know who's online, but but my guess is many of you online already have a lot of experience in being in a matrix. So I don't want to be patronizing. I don't want to be telling you something you already know. So I suppose a way of saying it is to say, let's remind ourselves about stuff we know. Let's remind ourselves about the groundwork. And I can't teach you anything new, but I can remind us about the principles and the practice. Okay, so if it's sounding patronizing, I'm sorry, I don't mean to. Okay, so the first, I have a list of things I go through when I'm holding a matrix, and it's a bit like you walk into the room or you set up the Zoom, and and you have to think about the setting. So what is it like in this space? You have to think, in Zoom, are we going to look at each other? If it's in a room, what is the shape of the pattern of chairs so that people don't need to stare at each other? They can look away, they can look up, they can daydream. They don't need to be in direct face-to-face contact. And why is this? Because we all know this is not a group. This is a place in which dreams come. So if you make people face each other like we're facing now, we're in a group. But if I look out the window and I'm just talking to you about something in my memory, I don't care what your face is doing. I'm simply there in a sort of reverie, a sort of meditation, a sort of thinking space with you. So the host or the hosts have to think about how to set this up in a way that allows that much less direct contact. So we say on the Zoom matrices now, you don't need to look. You can turn away. You can turn it off. You can not have your camera if you don't want, or you can sit back, or you can lie down. You can do whatever you like, as long as you can hear the dreams coming in. And it doesn't matter if you don't recognize the voice or if you don't know the person. Just allow the dream to come as a story. So that's the setting. Okay, so I go on. So the next, So the next thing I have to think about always is the introduction. What am I going to say to allow people who are new to understand, and to remind the people that know already to understand what we're about to do together. And the introduction sets a tone. Now, I'm going to tell you a little technique. It's not a secret, but it's a little technique. I try and make my voice quite slow, especially for people whose English is not their first language. I try to make the words very simple. I try to pace it in a way that is already a little reverie, a little dreamlike, a little not hypnotic, but a little slower. So not injecting lots of information, but much calmer and slower, and words that are simple, as I'm doing now. And using my lower register, as I'm doing now, something to make it grounded. So the introduction is very important, not just to set the scene, but to set the tone and to set the mood and to help people understand a little bit about what they're coming into.
So participants don't necessarily have to have prior knowledge before joining the matrix, and that's why this introduction is, as you say, it's quite important. Some participants might be quite experienced, but yeah, okay. No prior knowledge of social dreaming is needed.
No. In fact, the International Reflective Citizen sessions that started in Serbia but are now everywhere is very specially for people who don't have any background and don't have any training and haven't been psychoanalyzed and don't know what therapy is or psychology is. So it's for citizens. So I think social dreaming is very much part of that philosophy, because the thing that I always say is there is no hierarchy in the dreams. There is no status in the dreams. No dream is more important than any other dream. And the words that come, the way the dreams are told is always, it seems to me, in very simple language, with no clever phrases, no Latin, no history. You know, it's always like the dream I had last night. I was in a room with a suitcase and I knew I had to catch a plane at 6 o'clock, but I didn't understand how I was going to get there because it was already 5 to 6. So I put things in my suitcase, but I couldn't carry the suitcase. Now, this isn't a clever dream. This is just a few simple words about the dream. And so I always say the dream is a very democratic process, that everybody's dream, every dream that comes is simple and straightforward in words we all understand. Okay. So that's why it doesn't matter if you have no experience of being in a matrix, but you're just willing to share a dream. And the other thing I say is, and I'm not sure if this is the right word, that the dream is the currency. You enter the matrix because you want to be with dreams. You don't enter with because you're hungry, or you don't enter because you want training, or you don't enter because you want to meet everybody there. You enter because you want to dream together. The dream is the form of exchange. And I try and say this in a way that is simple and easy to take on. Okay, and then when that's settled, you take a deep breath, and I say, what is the first dream? Now, this is always, it's an invitation. I'm opening the matrix. I'm setting out the space. And there's lots of discussion about this. Some people say, where is the first dream? Well, my answer to that is I've got it, but I'm not going to tell you. But what is the first dream is more of an invitation. Some people don't say anything. They just say the matrix is open. Yeah, and so I think it's very important to invite the dream to come in. So I always say, and I think now it's the best way of doing it. Other people can discuss this. What is the first dream? And a little silence, and somebody offers a dream. And so it proceeds. The dreams come, the dreams talk to each other, the dreams share images, the dreams don't share images, the dreams are different, the dreams are the same, the dreams talk to each other. And in between all of that, people can make associations. Oh, that reminds me of a piece of music I heard last night. Oh, that's like a picture I saw in the Uffizi Gallery last year. Oh, that's like a meal I had 20 years ago in Istanbul. Gradually, the dreams and the associations weave a series of pictures together. And after the allotted time, we stop and we take a breath and we come out of the matrix and we become individual people, not dreamers. And then we have a dialogue about, so what do these dreams tell us about the world we live in? Can we make any hypothesis, a long word? Can we have any ideas? Do we have any thoughts about what might be going on from the dreams? And that's it.
Okay, all right. But hypothesis about the social unconscious, is that correct?
Well, you see, okay, so I'm saying to you it's very democratic and you don't need to be incredibly educated. What else could we say instead of hypothesis? An idea about what the dreams might be telling us about our social world. Stories that have come up through the dreams are maybe telling us something. Can we make a theory about this? Can we make a theory about why so many people, maybe other people who are here today, are having airport dreams or suitcase dreams? Can we make a theory about what this might be about? We just did it before we started, and Fabio said maybe we're all hoping we can travel. Maybe we're all itching to travel. Maybe we're all dusting our suitcases ready to travel. So we start to make a hypothesis, a theory or an idea about what may be happening from the dreams.
So it's making sense.
Making sense.
Making sense. But I'm really...
Maybe we can't make sense. Sorry, Kalina, you interrupted. I interrupted.
No, it's fine. Yes, on Zoom it's very common. Yes, because I was eager to ask you in this meaning making, sense making part. Do you use any psychoanalytic ideas or theories to make sense? What is no?
I don't, because I'm not a psychoanalyst. I'm just a person with a bit of experience. No, absolutely not. I mean,
but do you think if a psychoanalyst, because I know quite a few psychoanalysts are also interested in social dreaming and hosting social dreaming matrices, do you think if a psychoanalyst is hosting, I don't know, I don't really know, if a psychoanalyst is hosting the matrix, do you think they will bring in their understanding into the meaning making, perhaps? Yeah.
Oh, well, yes, when you're in the meaning making, the dialogue session, you're a person. You're not a host. You're a person that's joining in the discussion. So you can bring in whatever you like. But, I think we might be straying towards, can you make an interpretation? And an interpretation, when you're in a dialogue with a group of people that are thinking about the dreams, it's a very interesting point. Can you make interpretations? I think it might be a different setting to make interpretations. That sounds more like being a group analyst or a group consultant. I do think it's very important, and I hadn't realized until you asked that how important it is to be either a dreamer or a member of the group who's in dialogue.
Or a host.
Well, when you're in the matrix, you can be a host or you're a dreamer. So it seems to me there are dreamers and there are community. So the first bit is about dreams and the second bit is about dialogue and making sense. Now, if I have a skill that has taken me many, many years to learn, and it's an engineer who makes bridges, maybe in the dialogue, I will see everything in relation to arches and load bearing and metal stress and weather and dimensions, because that's my foundation learning. So maybe people who have a psychoanalytic learning want to bring that into the dialogue. So we all bring what we know, but it's very much a sort of citizen space in which we're all trying to see if we can make any sense from the dreams. Sometimes you can't. In fact, that's a very interesting story. The last bit of learning I had from a matrix very recently, because I couldn't make sense of it and other people couldn't make sense of it, I realized that what we were having to do at the moment was to be okay with not knowing and not being able to make any sense. That this was a new challenge for all of us because of the strange year we've been through. To not know is a skill, to be able to not know, because we couldn't make any sense of the matrix. So I learned something. I had a new thought. Aha, not knowing is okay. All right. So, anything else I can say?
Very interesting. You have a lot of experience with dreams before the pandemic and now during the pandemic. I don't know if it's possible to say maybe it would be a different another conversation, but is there anything peculiar about the pandemic dreams?
Well, different people I know around the world are saying different things. For me, I have a theory, and I would love to discuss it with many people. I don't think the dreams are any different. I personally think they're just dreams, but we're making sense of it through the lens of being in a pandemic. So the dreams of the animals on fire, we couldn't make any sense of it, but then we could through the lens of this terrible animal illness. So, but other people I know are saying, no, they are definitely pandemic dreams. I'm not convinced yet. I mean, other people will have strong opinions about it. I think all the dreams are the same. Houses, dogs, planes, sea journeys, gardens, big houses, little houses, old streets, new streets, being lost, being found, being with friends, finding a toilet, not finding a toilet, death, graves, forests, mist, mushrooms. I've heard these dreams for years, but we're looking at them now through the lens of a pandemic. And fine, let's make sense of them with the lens of the pandemic. That's fine. But for me, the dreams are as complicated or as violent or as sexual or as playful or about food. These are all the same dream. They're not the same dreams, but they all have the same elements in them. But I think we're looking at them through the lens of now, which is appropriate. But other people are saying, no, it's these are different. A colleague I'm working with said they are different because now in the dreams, there are voices talking to each other. Now, I never thought about this before, but in all my dreams, people have always been talking to each other. I've always been saying something to somebody and they've been saying something to me. But this person who's very experienced says, no, it's different. There are more talking dreams where people are talking. I haven't noticed a difference, but she was very clear that it was different.
You said also that this was a very interesting example with the animals appearing in the dreams, and then I think that might have been the mad cow or whatever it was called, the disease coming. So the dreams kind of anticipating, being able to pick up and anticipate in an anticipatory way, if I'm right. Were there any dreams, or if you know that were kind of anticipatory of the pandemic? Did we?
I don't know. I can't.
No.
I haven't noticed. I haven't noticed. I can't answer with any authority. No. It feels like I've been in this pandemic forever.
It does, yes.
But of course, the dreams are different. Franca and I were doing a matrix in a convent in Italy, and there were very many religious metaphors in the dream. Of course, because we were sleeping in a monastery. Of course, there would be. Yeah. Do you want me to talk about hosting? I have a list of things I could talk about. I've got host, I've got group, I've got what is dialogue, what is associations. I've got many things. Which would you like me to talk about on my list?
I think Fabio was trying to say something, and I'm not sure if we have any comments or questions from the viewers, perhaps. But yes, I'm definitely, and I think it would be interesting to know about hosting. Yes. Sorry, Fabio.
Yeah, no, I'm also interested in any of those topics, especially for me, particularly the problem of the topic of group, the group versus the collective engaged in social dreaming. That's I think is one of the most difficult to understand, at least in conversation that I'm having with people. That it's a bit of a struggle for them. But I also want to have give a little bit a voice to the people that are following, and Dario Forti and Carla Penna, Agnes Bertos is here too, and Chiara Lari. They all say hi to Angela and to us. And also there are a few questions. Everybody wants to hear about the host, so why don't we start with the host, and then we continue with other questions too.
That was democratic, yes.
Okay, so what about the host? What is the question about the host? Kalina, what do you think is the question I should answer about the host?
I'm not sure if
there is actually a question from Agnes about hosting, and it's I'm reading the question, it makes it easier. Angela, you say that hosting requires to understand fundamentals, and it is a process to learn. On the other hand, dreams are spontaneous and non-hierarchical. what are the consequences on the matrix when the host do not understand the basics?
Okay, I can tell you what happens. Very clear. Thank you, Agnes. What happens is it turns into a group. Because we're all very familiar and comfortable or not comfortable being in groups. And groups is a place where people talk to each other, ask questions of each other, have a discussion with each other from person to person. That's a group. We know about being a group. Some people shut up in groups. Some people talk a lot in groups. Some people want to run the group. Some people want to destroy the group. Some people want to help the group. Some people want to be with one other person in the group. Some people want to make an alliance with a few people in the group. Yeah, we're in a group right now. Hello, Agnes. That's a group conversation. What's your question? That's a group question. Yeah. What's the difference? So if you're hosting a matrix, what you're trying to do is to make sure that the space is open for dreams to talk to each other, not for people to talk to each other, but for dreams to talk to each other. So I'll give you an example. I was in a matrix and I was talking about a dream. I can't remember specifically what the dream was. And the host said to me, Angela, do you think this is a dream about leadership? And I was astonished because I was in a matrix and the host asked me about whether my dream was about leadership. And I was shocked out of the matrix. I immediately became a person, not a dreamer. I immediately was having a conversation with the host, a conversation, me and them, about the dream. And it completely showed me the difference between group and dream, between group and matrix. So if I'd had a dream that was about leadership and I gave it into the matrix, maybe somebody else would have a dream that talked about leadership. Or maybe somebody else would have a dream that didn't talk about leadership. But the idea, if possible, is to allow the dreams to connect to each other and make a network of meaning. One dream, another dream, another dream, to make a network of meaning. Not to have a conversation about it. Even, Kalina, I didn't quite hear what you said. What was that word you used? Immediately, you and I are having a conversation and we become people in a group, not in a matrix. It doesn't matter if the word gets lost. It doesn't matter if you don't even understand the language the dream is in, because the dreams talk to each other. And anything you do as a host to interrupt that, or other people interrupt the matrix, that's the job of the host, is to remind people and help people and encourage the dreams. Now, Agnes, I hope that is a little bit of an understanding about what's the difference between matrix and group. Matrix is a place for associations and dreams from dreamers. So there's a phrase that everybody laughs at. You leave your ego at the door. You don't come in as Angela or Kalina or Agnes. You come in as a dreamer without a name and without any special status. Your dream isn't more important than my dream. It's not even my dream. So there's the other thing that people do to stop it, to remind you, is not to say the name of the person. Now, it's a bit more difficult with Zoom because you see the name, but to not say Kalina's dream, but to say the dream about the house with the big windows. I want to relate to the dream about the forest with all the mist. Not Fabio's dream or Angela's dream. The moment you bring in names, it wounds the matrix a little bit.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I'm very old school about this. And I think it helps to stop a group and encourage a matrix. Does that make sense? Did I say it?
Totally. I think this your answer both answered the question about hosting, which is, for what I understand from your words, is to keep the matrix alive and well,
Absolutely.
and not make it turn into a group. And that answered the question why the matrix is not a group and what happens when the matrix becomes a group. And it seems that Agnes is also very satisfied with the answer. Thank you. And I'm gonna move on. And another question is come from Dario Porti,
Hi, Dario.
who in a recent matrix hosted in Ariele, a lot of wild animals were dreamed. Later, in a reflective session, we all wonder what does it mean? Nature is back, wilderness, danger, the virus. What do you think about it, Angela? That's the question from Dario.
Dario, I don't think it's for me. I wasn't there.
Mm.
And the point about being in a matrix and then being in a dialogue is for the people there to make whatever sense of it they can and maybe have a new thought. If that was the new thought, fantastic. But me now, not in your matrix, not hearing those dreams, not being able to see the connections between the dreams, you were there and you would have understood the connections and maybe had a new thought yourself about what these dreams meant. I think I heard white animals. Is that right, Fabio?
Wild animals, yeah.
Wild animals, not white animals. You see already, I'm going, oh, white animals. I wonder what white animal means, but wild animals, you can make all sorts of links. Is the virus wild? There are more animals in the streets right now. I read in the newspaper today, a woman in Italy had to leave her shopping in a car park because of the wild boars were attacking her. And she had to drop her shopping and run. Yeah, what is happening to wild animals? Are they coming into our cities? Last night I came home and there was a fox sitting on my doorstep. A fox in the middle of London, looking at me. Now, you're telling me there are dreams about wild animals. What does it mean? What does it mean? What is happening to our urban spaces that more animals are being seen? I don't know what it means, but it's a good thing to think about. So, Dario, I wasn't seduced into being an expert about your matrix. There was a big seduction there and I avoided it. I'm sorry, but actually I think that was the right thing to do.
Yes, and there's a question coming from Carla, which goes in this direction as well, in the sense of the relationship between the matrix and the dialogue. And Carla asked, Angela, in your experience, do you think that the matrix naturally evolved to the reflection session dialogue? Is there...
Yeah, Carla, you know the answer to this. I know you know the answer to this. One of the things I'm noticing is that people want to have a dialogue in the matrix. So the associations become like a sort of conversation. And so it's as if, I don't quite know how to say this, but I think people want to start understanding what's going on sooner than they need to. I don't know if this is quite answering your questions, Carla, but I do think it's helpful if you're hosting to remind people that there's a dialogue session coming up I wonder where the dreams are, to remind people that this hour or half an hour or 3 is for dreams and associations, and not to be so heady in their heads, analysing and thinking, to be much more in reverie, really. I don't know if that is what you wanted to hear, Carla. Is that I wish I could talk to Carla directly. Maybe we have a bigger Zoom next time.
Yeah, that could be an idea. In fact, Dario clarified a little bit this question, and he said that he asked that because during the reflection, actually, the participants had so different point of views in regarding what these wild dreams were all about, and so that's why he asked.
Yeah, but of course,
how you make sense of this.
I had a similar thought as well. If there are so many different and diverse meanings are offered, how do you know which is is there a competition for the right meaning? I don't know. I'm not quite sure what I want to say.
Okay.
You've got, and Dario, I think, is asking, the way I understand his question is,
okay,
people want to find out what's the meaning, and
yeah, that's very easy. So I had a very nice slice. I'm going to give an example. I had a very nice slice of almond cake yesterday, made by a new cafe that's open near where I go, and I like them very much. So I bought a slice of almond cake, and I didn't eat it that day. I ate it just now, and it wasn't so nice. Now, every single person on this thing will have a different association to almond cake and local cafes, and being a little bit disappointed by the food. We can't necessarily agree about what the meaning of this, if it was a dream, because we're all so different. So my new thought, if we were in a matrix, would be, how can I accept the diversity of responses? How can I live in a world in which all of you have different thoughts from me? And we may never agree. And how am I going to live in this world in which it's so difficult to get to a shared meaning because we're all so different? And cross-culturally, we're also different. Almond cake in one country or one culture would mean a different thing for somebody else. We don't have almonds in our country. Oh, in our country, we grow almonds and we export them, and we don't eat any ourselves. You know, the diversity of meaning, Dario, seems to me the most important thing. But to force an agreement, why? Why force an agreement? Why not live with the diversity?
So dreams are not lingua franca then?
Dreams are lingua franca, but the meaning and the association have to be diverse. Now, Carla asked, say again Carla's question, because I wanted to add something to it. I've forgotten the exact.
So Carla is asking, do you think that the metrics naturally evolve into the reflection session sometimes?
Yes, and I said sometimes it goes the other way. The reflection goes, the dialogue comes into the matrix. I'm doing it the other way, and I think it's helpful to remind people that there are two different formats, two different sessions, because I'm different in the matrix from when I'm a citizen in the dialogue. I'm more thinking when I'm in the dialogue, and I'm more labile, more free-flowing when I'm in the matrix.
Yeah, in fact, Carla added later that she noticed a tendency to transform the unthought known into something understandable, and that also, and that's a comment from myself. It comes a little bit with getting a little tired toward the end of the matrix. You want to get to the point, and then kind of is to get tired of staying in the unknown and trying to get something.
Yeah.
And we have a question from
is it the unthought known or the unknown thought? I'm making a joke. It's all right, I'm making a joke.
The unknown thought, yes, now again. Yeah, about thinking and new ideas, that's Maria Kamatovic that she's asking, could you please tell us something about new idea? How new ideas are generated during the social dreaming, and what host could do to encourage new ideas?
Oh, Maria, it makes it sound so prescriptive. I don't think you can legislate for a new idea. I think you have to be available for new thinking. This is Gordon's phrase. And if you have a new thought, congratulations, that's wonderful. It doesn't always happen. So I had a new thought just now about the diversity of meaning. And I had a new thought about the last matrix, which is I got to live with not knowing. But, if you have a new thought, wow, fantastic. But you can't force it. You can't push it. You can't direct it. You can only make the offering. The invitation is to have dreams, make associations, and to be available for new thoughts. And if they come, they come. I don't think you can anchor it. I mean, you can try, but you can't say, oh, was that a new thought? Oh, I think I heard a new thought over there. It's I think I'm much more generous. No, that's not the right word. More open to possibilities. So maybe there are no new thoughts. Maybe there are no new thoughts. So there you are. Maybe that's a little disappointing. I don't know. I think there's something people are doing at the moment about magicking social dreaming. I think they try to make it into like a prophecy or a mystical experience or a way of revolutionizing the world, and I think it's, for me, I think it's just simply an experience. You dream, you share dreams, you share associations, and you reflect, and maybe you have a new thought. But it's not, I don't think it's more magic than that. But I think I'm worried there's a little bit of a cult building up about, this is the new way of being in the world. And I don't think it's special, but I don't think it's that, so it is special. But we don't need to reify it, make it into a religion or a evangelical something. It suits some people, it doesn't suit other people. There you are. Am I too practical? Maybe I'm too practical. Maybe I'm saying things that are too simple. I don't know. How are we going?
Oh, well,
yeah,
maybe. Yes, go on, Fabio. I just wanted to say, I was listening, Angela, to you and thinking the previous guests talked about creativity and how stimulating social dreaming is actually for creativity, and people draw and paint and feel. And I was listening to you, and it's lovely, but perhaps just being in this experience and opening up and suspending your selfishness or ego, as you said, and importance, and being open up to associations from other people does something to the mind. Well, anyway,
Yes, of course it does, because we only use some of our synapses. And if it generates creativity, that's fantastic. But it you know, it to be available for a new thought, whatever that new thought is. It could be a painting or music or dance or making a new almond cake. It doesn't matter. It's just open for new thinking.
Yeah, I was curious myself about something that I saw happening in many matrices, especially early in the pandemic last year. I had the feeling at certain moment that during the reflection, the social world, so the pandemic in this case, was forcing its way into dreams, even when no dreams were talking about directly to the pandemic. How do you see this phenomenon, and do you think that people should have to balance, or they have to or not have to balance the influence of the news and when they are trying to make sense of the dreams?
Well, we're all trying to make sense, as you said, and I think I'll say it again. The dreams are the dreams. We look at them when we're thinking about them in relation to the social context that we're in. Many of us are in an isolated social context because of the pandemic. But if I was in a small island off the coast of Chile that had no pandemic, I could hear the same dreams, but hear them differently. So I'll say again, I think the dreams are the same, but how we reflect on them, of course, we're influenced by the social setting that we're in. Of course. Of course, if I'm hungry, I will see food in the dreams. If I'm anxious, I will see anxiety. I will experience the whole thing as anxious making. If I'm ill and I'm dying, I might see a lot of death in the dreams. But that's me. Now, what we make as a social reflection, of course, will be through the lens of where we are right now.
Yes, we almost reach our end time, and just one last comment from Agnes, which she said in response to the reference of the people bringing the matrix into a sort of prophecy prophecy making device. She says that some people feel that the method is a form of dictatorship as well, which she thinks is also unfair to the matrix, because the matrix sometimes is badly treated. And then she clarified, she meant autocratic, not dictatorship. I think you got the sense of the question.
Agnes, do you mean that the methodology is dictatorial, or that the people who are hosting it become autocratic? I'm
right. Reading it. She says some people feel that the method is a form of dictatorship, which is also unfair.
Oh my gosh. It's so interesting, because I just see it as an offering and an invitation. I don't ever say, you must not do this. I say, I wonder what the dreams are doing. So I have a metaphor, Agnes. I don't know if this helps. I just recently, I realized that it's like hosting a party. You open the door, the table is there, the dreams are the food. People bring their different bits of food. You share the food. You digest the food. But the host or you just open the door for the dreams. Now, how this becomes autocratic and undemocratic, I'm very scared when you say that. I really hope it's not like that. And at some other point, write to me, Agnes, and tell me why you think that, because it's something really important. If that's what's happening, I'm very sorry. It's not my sense of being in a matrix. So I really would like to hope.
Yeah, I think she's reporting, probably she had experience with people that maybe feel that the method is a little bit rigid or autocratic in this sense. I don't know. I'm just interpreting here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well,
that could be.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's the host, or I'm wondering if it's the process, or I'm wondering if it gets to be a group. But I've never been in a matrix where I've had that experience. So I'd love to hear more about it, Agnes. Do please email me. I'm sure you've got my email somewhere. And
Yes.
if what's happening, I'm very sad. It's not my understanding of how social dreaming should be.
I think you will clarify, because she said that she got lost in translation, but I'm sure this will open a conversation between the two of you, and you can get the real, you can clarify, because it's hard sometimes to read the comments and make sense when the person cannot ask directly the question. Absolutely. And I really want to close just in respect for everybody, but we have a question from Martin Walker, but I will make it a little more difficult in the sense that I will try to give you little time to answer. Maybe you can think about a question, an answer that's in a sentence or something like that. Maybe.
Yes. Thank you, Martin. Thank you for making me work hard.
So Martin asked, I feel most activated as a host when dreams flood per association or association flood out of dreams. What do you think is happening in a matrix at those moments?
Oh, connection. Connection and a network and a cobweb and links, and something wonderful is happening between dreams and associations. It's a moment when you can really feel the matrix. Unless you're saying flooding is too much flooding. But when they come together and walk together and dance together and link together, it's wonderful.
Yeah, you feel most activated, so it probably feels this energy. And I'm sure that people that's been in a few social dream matrices, I hope they had a little bit of that sensation, which is probably unique to this.
And it's very rare. I have to say, it's only happened to me about 3 or 4 times when I've gone, oh! No, so it's very rare. But the rest is wonderful anyway.
Yeah, thank you. I will close on this note, which is a hopeful note that I hope we will find more matrix like this, or not. It's also okay. We learn that's part of the process. I wonder if Kalina wants to say a final thing.
Yes, as usual, it feels like the beginning of a conversation, not the end. And I'm itching to say so many things, and I have to choose. Perhaps one of the ways to avoid myth making in social dreaming, because the very name kind of invites, it's a mystic. But one of the ways to avoid such myth making and misunderstanding and who's doing what is to talk, to invite people and to talk about it. And I'm very grateful to Angela for joining us, and to the viewers, and for creating together. Yes, creating such conversations.
If anybody wants to email me to please do that. Let's create a network. Please contact me if you have a question I didn't get. Please. It's lovely. It's lovely to be in a community.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all of you. And thank you, Angela. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I want to close reminding that you can write us anytime. You can write to us, to Angela, to Kalina. We like to answer any question. If you want to like this video, or if you want to subscribe, this also help other people that are in your community to know about social dreaming. So let's keep talking and let's keep dream together. And thank you for being here. Thanks, Angela, and thanks, Kalina, and thanks all the viewers. Bye.